Hello everybody and welcome to another Beyond All Reason video. Today we are on the map Aurelia. Now this map can be played in a 1v1 scenario or a 2v2 and potentially even a 3v3 if you really want to push it, with start positions potentially being here where Blodir has started, here. Those are your three prominent starting positions. If you really wanted to stretch it, you could argue that you could get an extra person there and there, but that's not very practical. But so mostly a 2v2 map or 3v3 map. Today we have the contestants of Mr. Blodir in blue, currently playing as Cortex, and it looks like he's starting to go with a bot lab, whereas his opponent Mr. rAndy in red playing Armada. Now, interestingly enough here, rAndy starting with only a single metal extractor. That is very rare that you see a player start with only a single metal extractor. This does mean that he's got his factory out very early on, and we can see ticks are halfway across the map before Blodir has even gotten his first unit out of the oven. So this does mean that Andy's going to be a little bit behind when it comes to building up the rest of his economy. With only one metal extractor, I'm really surprised he's able to push so many windmills and even that constructor out. But this does mean Blodir's comm is a little bit surrounded here with windmills, unable to get too much of his commander to shoot. This tick may eventually get this metal extractor, being supported by Blodir's comm. The rush of that grunt out did stop too much damage being inflicted. Blodir only losing the single metal extractor. Now with both players going bots, it is going to limit the movement on this map. We have seen this map before on the channel, and something to note about this is that the map is in essence two lanes. You have a lane here and a lane here. This is why this map can be played on a 2v2, because each player takes a lane. But with both players going bots, this entire section in the middle where there are two metal extractors and these 6 metal extractors on the side here are going to be completely ignored. Now, one thing we have seen before is the player walk his commander into the water around here and then build a factory like a hover or something like that here to attack the opponent's base. Also, a radar in this middle section basically gives full coverage of this sort of section here, a bit higher up there like that, and is a very strong position for a radar. So it's not to be dismissed. Also, you know, you've got 2 metal points here which are not going to be raided whatsoever, as well as the 6 metal points over here that are very unlikely to be raided. So we do expect to transition over to vehicles at some point from both players here. At the moment, both players prioritizing getting spread out as quick as possible. Andy building a vast amount of ticks. As we can see already, there is 13 of them already out on the field, and Andy's commander trying to get a D-gun there on this vast, well, I say vast, 4 grunts, not really a vast amount. But this one LLT will do a significant job at blocking that chokehold for now. Now, another thing of note is this is a substantial high ground here, and previously we didn't see any player take advantage of that. Getting a early radar up there or some artillery units could cause problems for the opponent. These 4 ticks did manage to get a construction bot. That is going to put Blodir behind, because now he has to either build a res bot to res it or a constructor. Meanwhile, Andy's just able to expand freely, not being harassed at all. Ticks attempting to get through. 4 do manage to get through. Grunts, unfortunately, not able to do everything they need to do to stop all these. Now, this is a wise thing to do. He's split the ticks up here. This is going to force Blodir to make a decision who's he going to go for. Fortunately enough, he does have more grunts around to save that. However, these two metal extractors are probably going to get destroyed. Andy sees them and gets to pay attention in time. Huh. Yes, I agree. Yes, unfortunately, Andy would have had the ability to get 2 more metal extractors there, generating plus 3.8 metal, which is quite big this early on. Now we have a big 14 chunk of grunts ticks versus 8 grunts. We'll see how effective these ticks will be versus this sheer amount of grunts. Fortunately, as you saw, ticks basically get destroyed almost straight away. And he's attempting to intercept with his commander here. Grunts do manage to spot the commander though, and manage to get out of range for the commander. And there we see the transition over to vehicles by Mr. Andy himself. All he needs to do is build one of these beavers to be able to basically claim those 6 additional mex points without too much contention. And Andy's comm on the map here, desperately trying to block off that other lane with laser towers, but at the moment unable to do so as more and more grunts pile in. With blitzes here to support, the grunts get mopped up very quickly. Losing a single construction bot is not too big a deal, but it's still a loss that, you know, he doesn't want to take right now. It does look like Andy's planning to play very defensive at this point, investing quite a lot in LLTs here to stop these moving raids through. Still see no look on that beaver's front. Meanwhile, over here, the plan is probably to just throw as many grunts as possible, as loads and loads of construction turrets have been built by Blodir. Fortunately, blitzes have a very, very short range. You can see them only just catching up with the grunts, but one of them is already dead. But with the ticks there to absorb some damage as well, the grunts managed to get taken out and dealt with. There is still this one up here out the way. His intention with this one is to just hide it, wait for a construction bot to come along, build the metal extractor, and then he can move back and like attack all of the metal points behind. rAndy hasn't noticed it yet. He doesn't have a radar that has that good a vision for that sort of high ground. When it comes to economy though, right now Andy is doing a better job, and surprisingly we see Andy going for, no sorry Andy, Blodir rather, going for a naval lab, which is a very interesting play here. Going for some missile things. This is to deal with air, and they have pretty decent long range. And then oppressors here to also bombard the coast and torpedoes. So if units come in the water, like his commander for example, then he can deal with that quite effectively. Now this, yep, as expected, air lab going up with shurikens. As mentioned in a previous video, shurikens are like paralyzer drones. Only the Cortex can build them. And it is a very, very highly regarded unit when it comes to the Cortex Air Lab. Oh, this radar did actually get built. We'll check that range out momentarily. But this is a good bit of raiding here. Now, the question is, did Andy see the naval lab? He did not. If this gets spotted, that's going to make a big difference. We did see the beaver there go out. Now, all of those metal points will get destroyed by the boats. Which, getting into water after your opponent is already in there is very difficult. And with Blodir building some ships here to kind of defend it, it's going to be very difficult to get back in there. We see him actually going over to air here and building some air defense to try and help that. Now, all of a sudden, Andy may have noticed missile coming from the water. What is that? As the radar goes up in the base and he sees something in the water there shooting missiles at him, he has probably an inkling as to what it is. Now, with Andy going vehicles, this does mean... Ooh. Great self-destruct of the LLT there, doing a vast amount of damage to those grunts. With going vehicle, this does mean that Andy has less metal available to him than Blodir does with his bot lab. We do see also a transition over to vehicles as well from Blodir, and still the production of the naval yard. A lot of factories being pumped out at one time by Blodir at the moment. So right now, Andy's got a pretty strong position on land, but he is going to struggle once more and more of this starts coming up. A single laser tower is not going to do anything versus a commander that's about to make landfall. And there comes the big booms of this destroyer. This beaver will get killed. Might be worth actually self-destructing this so it doesn't get caught. Some unfortunate pathing taking place right there. Now the question is, what is Andy going to do about these boats? There is only so much they're going to be able to do. It does seem like he's going to try and just pressure Blodir. What we can see actually is by Blodir investing, and it's not a lot to invest in a wall here, but with this wall being built, no Tech 1 units are going to be able to pass it. So it does seem like Blodir is just happy to cede all of this land. Which makes sense with all the water he's got on the side here. But Andy needs to kind of make a push somewhere and make the most of it. Because you can see here, battle points getting slowly hit down here. Basically, a large area is going to be able to be killed out of that sort of distance, which means all of these energy converters are going to go. We slip Blodir here. You can see the energy converters. He's going to probably go for that next. Yep, there we go. And although it doesn't reach the core of the base, that's still, you know, a big chunk that you can't access. And that is only for now. Because that beaver is alive, you can see he's claimed a resurrection sub. His probably intent here is to use it to reclaim the beaver. And then with the beaver, he can use it to build something here to actually strike Andy's base. Now, Andy needs to do something about that. And force Blodir's focus elsewhere. Now, this is an interesting attack here from Andy. A lot of blitzes piling in and a transition over to Tech 2 from Blodir at this point as well, as we see the start of Sheldon's coming out. The forces of blitzes do manage to make it through that defensive line, and the economy now is going to take a battering of Blodir. Not many shurikens are actually left alive, and these blitzes are just going everywhere, spreading out, trying to inflict as much damage as possible. And we can see all these windmills, blitzes just slide in between, making it even more difficult. Tech 2 constructor is left alive right now. It's going to be difficult for the blitzes of Andy to get close enough to really do that much damage on it. Kind of needs to get in here. Unfortunately, he wasn't kind of paying attention for a second there, and all of those managed to get caught. But huge economy damage, losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 metal extractors in one raid. Now, there is 2k metal left on the field, But that is going to put the economy of Blodir in tatters. And it's going to force him to have to defend for a while. Now, with the transition over to Sheldon's, he does have a significant advantage when it comes to defending. And Andy needs to make a decision. What is he going to do? Is he going to transition to Tech 2 himself? Or is he going to try and just push out as much Tech 1 as he can and just overwhelm the Tech 2 that Blodir has? Right now, as we look at economy-wise, metal produced, 4K difference in metal produced, that's going to start creeping up more and more as the Tech 2 metal extractors go up. Energy produced, even with these boats right next to him, is still very heavily on Andy's side, but energy doesn't help. Metal is the big thing here. Army value number is going to currently be a little bit skewed due to the Tech 2, so not quite accurate. But even though most of the map, at least the land part of the map, is in Andy's favor right now, the transition over to Tech 2 is doing tremendous work for Blodir. See Andy here actually trying to build an LLT down here just to try and deal with well, that metal extractor, not both of them. What is this missing so much? Ah, radar dots wobbling around, causing these units to miss so much, and radar is super weak, like it only takes a single shot. This is why vision is much more better than firing at just radar dots. There aren't many Sheldons here yet, but with them on top of some Fiends, Andy might have a bit of a problem here. He's gonna have to push in. If these Sheldons happen to take this high ground just here, that is gonna cause a lot of problems for Mr. Andy. But we see a lot of gunships piling in. Gunships focusing purely on the anti-air right now, which is a very good move. But tanks managed to rush down the Sheldons. And the EMP bot goes off in just the right time here. And Andy managing to break through that containment of the Tech 2 units. Sumos will maybe turn that around though, as we see how quickly that stout starts going down as soon as the Sumo starts firing. And now Andy needs to get all of this reclaim as quick as possible. You can see he's got air engineers here quickly getting all of the reclaim he can. And that's very important that he tries to get as much as possible. Because that could give him enough to go to Tech 2, or if he's going to stay at Tech 1, like it seems like he might be, to produce enough units to be able to push out. But the longer he stays on Tech 1, the more difficult this is going to be for him. As the economy is just going to scale massively for Blodir. We can see with the reclaim now, though, the difference in metal produced going down rapidly. As there's only 900 metal difference in it right now. This whole left flank has been completely ignored. Even to the point where Andy's actually building energy on that far side. Oh, dangerous opportunity here for Blodir. Blodir with no power, meaning these Sumos are not going to be able to actually fight. Energy starts coming in. Ah, the gunship's actually being used now to deal with this sea side. This makes sense. Unfortunately, though, with the res sub there, he has no way of actually killing this, and this res sub will be able to just resurrect these oppressors and other things. But it is going to mean that those are going to be able to go around here, take out these mexes, and also take out any exposed mexes that do not have any form of protection. Currently, Blodir's base is very light when it comes to any form of air. There are some basic nettle defenses, but they are a bit focused around the core. Around the exterior, there is nothing there to defend. But again, Blodir's economy scaling even more. We can see his metal production is 27% higher than Andy's right now. Even though the metal produced is only a small difference, it's going to constantly add up. You can see Andy forced back, but here comes a fight. Oh, a SAM actually did manage to get built here. And those gunships will now no longer be able to attack that flank whatsoever. And we're probably going to see more air defense being built along this front line with these Twitchers, or maybe even flaks being built by the Tech 2. We do see now Andy has decided to transition finally to Tech 2. I'd argue that's quite late, considering how much your opponent has managed to build up. See, Andy's just unable to push in. He has a large amount of gunships and not really anything to do with them. And look at the rate that these Sheldons are coming out. A new Sheldon built every like 10 seconds here. And that's even with constructors here idle and Blodir with a little bit of metal left. Bit dangerous. Now, Mausers. Don't often see those. Mausers with a range of 820 as opposed to the Sheldon's range of 850. It's not going to be able to outrange the Sheldons here, and a potentially mistaken waypoint may cause Andy to lose this early Mauser. He actually sets it to fight move, okay. Unfortunately for him, Blodir is paying attention and is manually firing down the actual combat units rather than the scouts. Now this is a very smart move here by rAndy. Something for you to not, like, you know, think lightly about here. Just set your scouts to a like a back and forward path. Your opponent's units by default are going to fire at those units rather than firing at your actual units that you care about. So if you're in a situation where you're trying to push into someone that has sniper bots or Sheldons or something like that, going for this sort of play is a good way at trying to protect your units from idle fire. Now from manual fire, which is what you can see Blodir doing right now, that is not going to help whatsoever. And with Blodir having a range advantage over these Mausers, also not going to help too much. Now what would maybe be a good call here is to go for a Starlight. With a range of 950, it would outrange any of these Sheldons. But for him to use that, he is going to need to invest a substantial amount of energy. 13,000 energy is a lot of energy, and he's also going to need energy to fire. Anti-nuke actually going up here from Mr. Andy. No anti-nuke yet from Blodir's side, but we can see Blodir already starting over to a advanced fusion. Does also look like Blodir is planning to maybe go for more vehicles as well, which is an interesting idea at this point in the game. Diversifying so much into different things. But the Requiem field does end up in Andy's favor with 1.5k metal to be had there. It's hard to say at this point in the game. Andy has control of more territory, but that is purely just the Blodir basically giving up on terrain. He gave up this entire left flank because he chose the water side. And although Blodir has had the economy a lot longer, he hasn't used it as effectively as he possibly could have. And with this Tech 2 push here, he's taken a while to make an impact. Surprisingly here, we don't see him decide to kind of position his force up on the hill. If he positioned it up on the hill, he would have even more range. He would be able to hit down at these units. Now, when we select this and look at, not transversability, sorry, the height map, we can see, by pressing F1, seeing the height map, we can see the different levels of terrain here. And this is substantially higher. Now, that would mean he would group up his units more by putting them up there, and would mean that rAndy could have come around there instead and trapped them, which is a bit of a problem. Same with positioning your forces up here. But would the range advantage pay off? We can see that Andy isn't able to fully push in right now against this Sheldon Bob. And he's constantly actually losing his stouts that he does have left because of this. Very sneaky EMP bot here, waiting to EMP the forces. Clearly not enough scouts right now to distract the forces of Blodir. EMP bot getting ready to get into position. And there goes about a quarter of Andy's army EMP'd. And look how quickly these balls are dropping under that focused fire. 2 balls already gone. Second EMP goes up, manages to stop the flank of the stouts. One bull does try and push right in, getting close enough that enough friendly fire actually causes the sumo to get destroyed. But again, even more Sheldons in this ball now, 16. Now, an interesting play might be here is something, unfortunately, that Andy does not have access to, which would be from the Tech 2 bot lab, which would be a bomb of some type. Crawling bomb, scuttle, just one of those. Sneak it round. Manage to get in that group when he groups up those Sheldons and detonate it. All of those Sheldons go pop. Blodir playing a very defensive game right now, building even more static defenses in this middle, planning to hold on. A mass scout wave coming in here from Andy. 47 scouts trying to see what's going on, and that means he will spot the Tech 3 lab. And this is where Andy needs to make a decision. Tech 3 is being built. What am I going to do about it? And so far, what he's doing is doing a little boogie and building a bunch of ticks. Ambassadors. Interesting choice here. Building ambassadors to outrange static defenses that will work effectively. Persecutor artillery also dealing with the stuff on the island over here. You can also see, though, Blodir choosing to produce a ridiculous amount of herrings to deal with the air gunships that would be built. But what's his plan with them? Like, he can't do too much damage because Andy's decided to keep away from that. What could potentially be a good use right now is if Andy can build like a group of bulls, position them around here. He could, if he was smart as well, also build a few radar jammers along the way around here, and then push those bulls through. They can walk through these Tech 2. And that would give a massive open line for him to push through, hit the economy. And that would force Blodir to fall these forces back to cover, leaving this whole front open. Now, Tech 2 aircraft plant has been built. And potential here that we may see either some strategic bombers or some atomic bombers. Another potential option here is the EMP bombers. EMP bombers are very, very effective at, well, EMPing anything, really. And this grouped up force here is actually not as many as there used to be. Only 8 Sheldons remain now. And I'm surprised we're not seeing more of an attack come in here from Mr. Andy himself. Huh, I love this. A pop-up turret being built on this cliffside here just to try and deal with these static defenses. Also a very sneaky place to actually have a defense. Unfortunately, as soon as these get in range, those Tech 2 are going to be destroyed. Bomb did go off there. I missed that, unfortunately. It did sound like an atomic bomber went off. Wow, surprisingly, the pop-up defense does actually get built and does a great job at keeping those Tech 2 alive. And right now, could be anyone's game. Tech 3 coming out from Blodir and atomic bombers coming out from Andy. Oh, that is a big waste of atomic bomber. Gets shot down instantly without dropping its bomb. That is a lot of resources to waste. And Andy needs to deal with these. Slowly now pushing forward. But the tier 3 is off to the left now. And this is going to basically do the opposite of what we were saying for Blodir, but to Andy instead, forcing Andy probably to pull his forces back. Blodir has enough fighters that he's going to be able to protect that tier 3, but tier 3 also coming down the middle as well. Shivas will hold off pretty well. The pop-up defenses are doing a decent job and managed to kill a single Shiva so far. But there is a hole there now, and the Tech 2 units getting taken out. These units will make it through, but meanwhile in the middle, plenty of EMPs going off. Some Starlights start to appear on the front line, and Starlights surprisingly take the Shivas down in a very quick manner, especially if they get massed up. The nuke bomber did hit its target, and here come the fighters trying to control who owns the air. The Lich is still alive. Atomic bomber still alive at this point in time. And Andy threw all of his fighters there, but Blodir still has a very, very large amount of fighters. And the forces of our Andy on this middle section has been whittled down significantly. And look at how many Shivas there are now. 9 Shivas pushing along here. How is Andy planning to deal with this? Right now, it looks like he's just planning on slowly whittling down some economy on the sides. Another nuke bomber killed by a single Tech 1 fighter there. Now this is a interesting position here. This may be able to be hit. Yep, there we go. Unfortunately, it's gonna get killed. But interesting placement again. If these Mausers get up on this cliffside, it's gonna be hard for them to get out, but at the same time, they are going to be able to do so much damage to Blodir's base being up there. And I don't know if the air plan really paid off for Blodir here. Here comes the Shivas. Andy desperately trying to rush all of the bulls forward here. But if these Starlights get hit, they will do a lot of damage to each other. But see just how quickly these Shivas are dropping under the firepower of the Starlights. But if you can pump them out at a ridiculous rate, is that really a problem? Saying that though, only 4 left. The 5th one just coming out. And when we look at how many atomic bombers, there are currently 3. And here come the bomber. 2 bombers coming straight in. What are they aiming for? Oh, the advanced fusion reactor. Unfortunately, only one manages to land their target. And the fusion reactor is still standing. Advanced fusion reactor needed 2 bombs in order to hit. And unfortunately, did not make it. And with that now, Andy in a very tough spot. A lot of his forces got taken out there. And not only that, but there's a huge reclaim field now. 22,000 metal. Right there, right outside of Blodir's base. And Andy, with some scattered starlights. And no frontline forces to speak of. Now in a very, very desperate fight for his life. Now a single nuke bomber here to come in and hit all that group would have been grand, but unfortunately does not exist. Starlights are still doing a fairly okay job at trying to whittle down them. There are still 3 left though. And right now, Andy just producing as much units as he can in order to just take the aggro away from the Starlights. But when we look at it here, look at the metal produced. 7% difference does equate to 15k. We can see that's going to go huge up now as all of that has basically been taken by Blodir. A few of it will get grabbed by Andy here, but not really enough to make a big impact. Fortunately, Bull here just rushing forward on a fight move, apparently. Bit of a waste of a Bull there. Maybe to give the intention to allow these Resbots to do their job. Now, this may change the game. If that manages to get built, we can definitely say goodbye to Andy's base. There will be nothing he will be able to do to stop that. And Blodir just dominating right now. Has enough tech free that he can just hold indefinitely, even if he starts losing them. Which he is starting to lose more and more Shivas as time goes on. And realistically, our single Razorback trying to come around here is not really going to cut it. It will do some damage, but not really enough to make an impact. And here we see some Vanguards being built. Now this will cause Blodir some problems. But realistically, not enough. And unfortunately for Andy, he's not aware that a flagship is on its way very soon. I say very soon, it's going to be another 2 minutes still, but what's this ping? Oh, 2 Junos being built. Yeah, that's unusual. Razorback does get past. Vanguards being up on this hill is going to make it difficult for Blodir to deal with. But right now, Blodir is not planning to win with these Shivas. He is buying time. He is forcing Andy to focus his attention here. And mostly in 1v1s, it's all about forcing your opponent to play to your playstyle. Play how you want him to play. And that is exactly what Blodir is doing right now. He has positioned those EMP bots perfectly. But there is a large amount of Starlights there, and they are evaporating those Shivas. Oh, this Razorback, though, manages to do an amazing job and gets round the back. No radar vision there, surprisingly. Now, here the issue is yeah, EMP. Razorback, unfortunate, not actually able to do anything substantial other than kill like a couple of metal extractors. Now, if one of these vanguards, however, gets up on this hill, that's also going to make a big play. But flagship, 50 seconds remaining. Well, a mixture of 50 seconds and 1 minute. What can Andy do? Well, right now, Andy isn't aware of the water problem at all. Getting forces up on this hill will be a big play for him. If he can get stuff up here, then that is going to change the game for him. Somehow, this Sheldon manages to actually get up on that hill, which I did not know was possible. And economy-wise, you can see that metal income right now, although there is Reclaim happening, which is obviously screwing it off, is very close. Economy-wise, this game is very, very, very close. But Blodir has a plan for victory. Andy, however, has mostly been reacting this whole game. Now, he does have somewhat of a plan here. These Starlights counter all of these Shivas. So do these Vanguards. But is this a game-winning plan? I am not sure about it. And also now we have all of these guys on the left slowly pushing forward. But the biggest thing is this bad boy over here. Black Hydra being produced. And surprisingly able to actually shoot up onto this hill. And here comes the big fight. Starlights versus Shivas. Razorback's there to deal with all the spam. And Razorback's already starting to get destroyed. Oh, a catapult. Huge damage on these Starlights. All these Starlights super grouped up. And with that, as you see the chain reaction, and there goes all of Andy's damage. With that said, though, here come a huge amount of strategic bombers aiming for those advanced fusions. And with that, Blodir actually calls GG. Surprisingly enough, I feel like he could have not given up there. I feel like he could have pushed that flagship up and managed to also take out Andy's economy with that as well. And it would have kind of been a stalemate. But Andy taking the victory this time. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.